Hey, welcome everybody to another episode of Nailed It. I'm in studio at the Total Wealth Academy podcasting studio with the man, with Total Wealth Academy guru, the man who's mentored me for many years, Steve Davis. Thank you again for allowing me to do this in your studio, in your Legoland room on I-10.
I love what you do, man. I'm glad to have you here.
Thanks. Okay, so why Legos?
You know, I was having trouble. I'm 56, and I was starting to lose a little control of my hands, just a little bit, but I knew it was going to get worse. And someone actually gave me a kit, a small kit, and I did it, and my hands came back like nothing. It's just like they say, muscle memory. If you keep exercising throughout your life, you can continue to build muscle all the way till the day you die. So it was a lesson for me that I needed to keep my hands active, keep working out, and keep my brain active. But I also had a serious association from when I was a child of how much I loved Legos. I had serious love of Legos as a kid. All that came back, and it just took off from there.
Have you ever thought about entering like one Lego build out contest?
No, because those guys are geniuses at Legos. I'm a great kit builder.
Yeah.
They're great creators, and there's a difference. They can take, they get laid out 30,000 different types of pieces. They know which pieces go together to make wings flap or whatever.
Right.
I mean, it's quite different what they do. I'm very impressed with them.
Yeah. How is Legos like investing?
It requires a lot of concentration. It's fun. It's rewarding.
I think building the kit is a lot like investing. You have a blueprint, you have a house, and then there's like steps. If I do this step to this step, it's going to get me this close. If I do that step to that step, it's going to get me that much closer. It's like each step along the way of investing is a lot like a kit of Legos, I think. Is you're just taking these building blocks and putting them together, and then voila, you finally got your first house and your first cash flow, or you've done your first flip or a wholesale deal or whatever it is.
I have to agree with you, because when you put it that way, and I think of it from that point of view, when I take a person who's never owned a single family house before and I go, the first thing you need to do is locate a deal. Then you need to analyze it. Then you need to look at funding. Yeah, it is. It's just like a Lego set.
Yeah.
Just step by step by step. And then boom, you got your first house and you're like, ooh, let's do it again.
Yeah.
Go buy another kit.
Yeah. And that's what you do. You go from the starter kit to the Millennium Falcon to the Death Star.
Yeah.
You were taking on these massive projects.
Yes.
And that's kind of what you challenged me on the first show, was to go and do multifamily. Yeah.
Yeah. You need to do a big project.
Yeah.
You've got, and it doesn't have to be multifamily. It's whatever you're passionate about, but you've got the leadership skills, the communication skills. You're going to rock whatever you do.
Yeah, that's what I've been in kind of path forward on. Was I got to find. So at first I was finding what you really like to invest in, which is apartments.
Right.
And now I'm looking at more maybe boutique one-off Airbnb short-term stay. We found 30 acres of land in Wimberley, Texas, that we
almost a resort, right?
Yeah. Well, in Texas, you can subdivide 10 acres without a replat. So I can subdivide 10, sell that off, subdivide another 10, sell that off, and then almost have my entire deal paid for.
Wow. Because
I could then build houses for each one of those two people. I could build that, and then also build out my mini, one bedroom cabin deal, like kind of right around a lake.
Well, Smoot Hull, who's a member of Total Wealth Academy and really a consultant of mine, a mentor of mine, he's got, I want to say, I'm not going to pick a number.
He's at Vintage Round Top.
Yeah,
that's his company.
He's
Vintage
killing
Round Top.
it.
Yeah.
Killing it with those Airbnb. He sent me an email. He's got like 113% rate of return
annually. It's
Airbnb,
crazy.
if you know how to do it and you're willing to put in the effort, it's a high rate of return.
Did you see what the guys did? Did you meet Hatham and Javar, the brothers that turned the Astro Inn into the Heights House Hotel?
No.
Okay. So just like in the last 2 years, they bought the hotel right 4 blocks down from where I live.
Okay.
They bought this no-tell hotel that's like a heroin,
By the hour.
yeah, $39 by the hour.
Gotcha.
The guy had done no maintenance on it for 10 years.
Oh, man.
Tons of deferred maintenance, was still making tons
Which
of
is
cash flow.
opportunity.
He all of a sudden wanted to sell. The guys got it. They then turned it into this. You know what we could do? We could make this like modern Austin looking vibe motel, right?
Right.
So they turned it into the Heights House Hotel. They just did this huge launch. Bun B was there. Steve Francis was there.
Wow.
Yeah, all these people were there, and these guys are Benchmark Insurance is their company.
Benchmark.
They just do everything. They were at the super investor meeting that you were at.
Yes.
Yeah, and everybody. Steve was he was on my podcast at the super investor meeting, the Investor Game Day podcast, and then he also spoke live at Stampede Houston for the super investor meeting.
Yeah, that super investor meeting was the best one I've ever been to.
Really?
That was, I liked it because, one, the speakers could be heard, and the people who wanted to hear were able to go into a certain section and listen. The people that just wanted to party were able to go into another section and just party. It's the best setup I've ever seen.
It's good. The worst setup, which had like the most people, was when we were at the Houston Texans Grill, which is no longer even there. It's
I
at
remember
City
that.
Center.
I went there one time.
Yeah, man, that place was packed.
Yeah.
Very hard to listen.
Yeah.
Because everybody's like talking. You've got people in the restaurant that are just there to eat. They're not there to be a part. Yeah, it can be crazy. But this setup and the Republic Country Club, those were two of my favorite. But I like this one better because it's 100% air conditioned.
Oh yeah, it's a sweet venue.
Yeah,
for sure.
At first, I was looking at this going, "What the heck is going on with this screen?" But I have figured it out. So, for you did this challenge for us in January, where it was the New Year, your goals, right? The goal setting workshop class. You did it. You said that one thing that you should do is if your wife has a minivan, you should take her out of the minivan.
Yeah.
James Toller, who was on the podcast, just spoke about this last week, that he went and bought his wife a Mercedes-Benz
sexy
sports car. Yeah.
Yeah, you can't expect your wife to feel sexy if you buy her a minivan. It just doesn't work.
What are some other good tools and tips for relationship building with your wife?
I love this subject because it's so simple.
And how long have you been married? So
I've been
that everyone
married to
knows.
the same woman for 35 years. We've been together about 38 years. She's incredible. And we built our relationship through some very tough times, financially challenging. Her friends telling her that because I was broke, bad credit, telling her to leave me, her parents telling her to leave me. We made it through some really tough times. But romance is fun to me because it's not what people think. Romance, the way people think of it, they think it's you've got to take your spouse to Hawaii, you got to take them to France, you got to this, that, and the other. I'm going to tell you, romance is doing the doggone dishes. Men, of course, this probably works for any sexual orientation, but if you come home and expect your spouse to be there to cook dinner, to do the dishes, to do the laundry, and then go put on a sexy outfit and make love to you, it ain't happening. She's burnt, plus she may work a 9 to 5 on top of that. So what I noticed was that I would take responsibilities off of her, and they really should have been my responsibilities anyway. If she's going to cook, I'm going to do the dishes. And it gives her time to reposition herself mentally into being a sexy woman. So do the dishes, do the laundry once in a while, give her time to sit and feel sexy and feel and prepare for romance. If you got them working 24/7, it doesn't work. And then the joke you made earlier, it's absolutely right. I always had a big SUV. She could use the SUV when she needed it for the kids, but I always had my wife in a sexy convertible. First BMW, then Porsche, and eventually Ferrari. So that, you've got to think about stuff like that. But again, romance is way more than just traveling to France or Hawaii.
Right.
It's everyday things. You've got to be romantic every single day, all day long.
So Kendra and I had this conversation yesterday. We went through a weekend. It was very busy. There was very little connection over the weekend. And so I'm talking to her and like, what's going on? Is there anything that I need to do? She asked me a question. She said, let me ask you, what do you think you did this weekend that would have helped connection? And I said, well, I tried to do the dishes. I tried to do this, this is what I did. And she said, I'm going to so I put it back and I said, instead of me answering like what I think I should do, could you tell me what is it that I should do?
Asking her love language.
What is it that I could have done that would have helped? And she said, I'll tell you what, because I burned both candles of this, both sticks of the candle, whatever. Yeah. She said, because of that, I really need help when your kids are here and my kids are here and you grill out, I need help cleaning everything. I feel like it's all on me, and then I'm building resentment.
Interesting. I like her honesty.
Yeah. No, I told her the only way that we can do this relationship with as many kids as we both have, she's got 4, I've got 3, we have 7 blended. Wow. She's 43, I'm 46. We've done it wrong. I went 11 years, she went 18, divorce. So clearly we're not experts, but what I feel like, and I'm bringing up relationships in this episode and you're bringing it up, and Rob brought it up on our last podcast that we did, relationships, is that your success is only going to be determined by 1, the people that are in your circle, and 2, the woman that you marry or surround yourself with.
Yes.
You would agree with that, right?
I totally agree. There were so many times when I was down and I would look in Josie's eyes and I felt like $1 million.
Right.
Instantly. If she hadn't have been there, man, I could have gone into a depression, quit, given up. Who knows?
Man, your eyes are already telling it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's great.
Yeah. Having someone there that believes in you when you stop believing in you, I think that's the one thing that kills people's success. If you don't have that flag, what I tell people about not having parents is your parent was like a flag in a blizzard. And they say how you get yourself out of a blizzard is you put a flag stick down, you walk 10 feet, then walk back to the flag. And you do that in a circle. And you at least know where your base is so you don't get lost in the blizzard. And I think for people who've gone through emotional trauma early on, they don't know where their flag stick is. So they're just looking for anything that goes home, right? That they can call home. So you get into these really attachment-oriented relationships of toxicity. They happen real quick, they happen real fast, and then they fall apart just as quickly because there was nothing really of value. There was nothing really. You were just putting your stake wherever you wanted, not what was actually home.
Right.
So I think having someone who believes in you when the chips are down and your back's against you, being a foxhole partner, that's what people need to be looking for or creating in their own relationship.
I couldn't agree more because so many people have the me, myself, and I mentality. They think they're out there by themselves. And you're not. There's so many people around, good people around. And if you get close to them or fall in love with one of them, you let them know your dreams, your aspirations, somebody you truly trust. It's got to be somebody you truly trust before you tell people things like that. if they get on board with you, that is one of the most powerful tools you'll have in your arsenal, is just somebody to say, no, you're right, keep going. Oh, you're down today? Step up. There's been times when she's told me, you need to step up.
Oh my gosh, my whole body. I'm down 12 pounds now. The whole thing. Yeah. It all started with your goal setting workshop. I was there. James was there. Chris Funk was there. We all came to your goal setting workshop. You lit the house on fire that night.
That's good to hear.
I love talking to you before you go on stage. It's one of my favorite things.
Yeah.
Like, I'm really nervous. I'm like, you're Steve fucking Davis. What the hell? I told you this before you went up on your deal. I was like, get the fuck out of here. Every time it's like the microphone hits and all of a sudden the lights go. Yeah. You just come out like a house on fire.
Yeah, you have to, because the people count on you to be at your top, at your best. And if you're really going to help and serve other people, you've got to push yourself to be at your best once you pick up that mic.
How important is it just showing up?
Whew. Man, that's a funny question, because that was on a show a few months ago. Wow, I don't know how to put a percentage on it, but you got to show up.
Yeah. Showing up it's at least 50%.
It's at least. I've had situations where I just happened to be in the right place at the right time.
Because I showed up?
Because I freaking showed up.
Yeah.
And I'm like, really? Okay, I'll take that deal.
So we were talking on the last podcast about, being at the Stampede and building personal relationships and what is the problem that most people have, right? And so typically it comes down to, I don't know anybody. I don't really know what to expect. I've never been there, so I might not go. And I tell people, whether it's having a club membership to Total Wealth Academy or it's having a club membership to LA Fitness, if you ain't showing up, you're not getting better.
Yeah.
It's just like working out. Real estate is a contact sport. The contact is my contact with you. Because I knew you. I didn't know you, but I reached out to you because I was like, I want to get to know you and I want to contribute back to what you've helped me with. By doing that, you were like, oh, you had this podcast? Let's do the podcast here. By me bringing in those people, you've been able to inspire, and other people have helped inspire. Those people now are connecting to Total Wealth and finding a place here. And it's so great to see. It's so great to see how the contact sport works, and it just keeps building and growing momentum. Yeah. And when you're around good people bring other good energy.
Oh yeah.
But when you showing up, just show up, get into the lobby, come off the elevator, go sign up, get your name tag, show up, and you can't help it. People will come and ask you, what do you do?
Yep.
Or you could tell people, hey, I saw a podcast that you did. That is the best lead in that anyone has to get my attention.
Yep.
Really, which podcast did you see?
Yeah.
What did I say that really connected with you? Now I'm asking you questions. And that gives you some credibility so that we can have a deeper discussion.
I think you're bringing up a really good point. A lot of people are shy. They feel like they don't have the skills to meet people. They feel clumsy in a group. And, David Goggins brings up the point.
Oh, I can't wait to get into the David Goggins stuff.
Yeah. He says, wherever you see fear, wherever you see pain, that's where you should head. That's how you know that's where you should be.
Yeah, that's your growth.
If you're worried about communicating people, building your team, which is, like you said, it's a team sport out there, that's where you need to head. Push yourself. Get into a club. Start attending seminars. Start attending workshops. Start meeting people and practice. You're going to goof it up the first few times. Who cares? But you'll get good at it over time.
And talking about relationships, so you said David Goggins, and you said the book on the podcast you did with Brian Burr.
Right.
And Brian has a way, when he finds out that someone is a bookworm like he is, he likes to bring a gift of a book.
Right.
Something that changed his life.
He's brought me 2 or 3 books, yeah.
Yeah, the guy is just great. And we talked about this at the end of the Investor Game Day podcast. I said, if you had a deal that you were wholesaling and Brian and I were both buyers, who would you bring it to? And you said, Brian, because he's a gift giver. So I would give back to him. And your success always starts first with giving a value into someone else. Then you never know when it's going to come back. You had no idea. I had no idea that in 2007, when I first met you, that in 2021, 14 years later, I would be able to provide value to you. It's always so weird walking in knowing you as I know you now, just this down-to-earth guy that's got the same fears and issues, but you just figured some things out quicker than I did. And you're still helping people along the way. You've been on the radio for years.
Yeah.
And you've been helping so many people. Your line at the end of this world will be so long, the people that just want to say, thank you. He changed my life. Your dad changed my life. Your dad did this. It's a legacy.
Yeah.
That you leave behind.
So. There's nothing I get more excited about than a person giving me a hug or saying, can I get my picture with you? And then finishing by going, I've joined your group. Now I've got 11 rent houses. I'm financially independent. Man, that feels good. Yeah. It feels so good.
Yeah, it's a great gift to be able to give to somebody else something that changes their life forever. And I just think, like, some people, they see these goal-setting workshops and then they miss them, right? I'll do my own goals.
Oh, yeah.
And showing up to that one thing, the way that you talk to people is so real. Because you even said, if you have kids, I need you to get out of the room right now. We're talking about
sex. Into romance and sex.
And being able to talk about it and come from a place where people love and respect you, and you do have that credibility to go into the unmentionable zones.
Right.
Being able to do that and slap people across the face is really a gift and talent, and it's life-changing. Because you were talking about how you didn't like the way you looked. I was going, I don't like the way I look. I need to do something about it. So then I went and just did a quick 10 days because I was going to go get engaged. So I did a quick 10 days. Then I came back and there was nothing life transformational about it. I let myself go. And 20 days later, I was back in the same spot.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
So I started a month ago doing a 10-day challenge. So I did the 10-day challenge. Then I have been able to maintain because I didn't deviate away from it.
Excellent.
Now I'm doing a super huge caloric deficit. And I'm doing 1 meal a day, trying to cut out as much sugar and carbs as I can, right? Going protein. I'm just doing 1 meal a day for like this 1 week to get into a caloric boost, right? Then, because that's not sustainable. You can't sustain it. Your body's going to catch up to it. So you got to trick it and change it.
You got it.
And so just go into that one class. My long story longer is that going to that one class took someone who thinks that they know everything because I'm so experienced in real estate.
Yeah.
And it made a difference. It changed. That's why showing up to these classes are so important.
Oh yeah. I spend 20 or 30 grand a year on continuing education. Grant Cardone put his little multifamily book set on sale for half price. I bought it. I knew almost 99% of the material, but I learned different ways to express it, different ways to explain it, that I think now I can help more people as a result. So I do believe you need to invest in your education every year.
You said one of your favorite books now is the I Can't Hurt You, or You Can't Hurt Me.
You Can't Hurt Me, yeah.
Yeah. Why?
That is because it got me out of a funk. I'd become complacent, and once I read that book, I went, "You're the loser he's talking about. You're not exercising 4 or 5 days a week like you used to. You're doing other stupid stuff. I was vaping at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I quit vaping, lost 18 pounds, but I still got 25 to go. It's just, he calls you out.
Yeah.
If you read that book and you don't get, he doesn't like the word motivation, but I'm going to use it. If you don't get motivated after reading that book and call yourself out that you should be leading a more exceptional life than you are, then you didn't get the book. You know, as Stephen Covey says, to know and not to do is the same thing as not knowing. If you read that book and don't take action on it, you may as well not have read it. But if you read it, I bet you money you're going to take action.
Well, in legal terms, not knowing is not a defense.
Right.
Yeah,
Ignorance is not a defense.
Ignorance is not a defense.
Yeah. At the end of your life, you can't say, I just didn't know.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't know. Well, God's going to say, listen, I was trying to slam doors in your face the whole time you kept trying to kick down. So, I mean, sometimes you just got to, I tell people, God can't steer a parked car. He's got to get your wheels going, even if they're flat tires. He's got to get your wheels going in order to do a U-turn. And they say that a boat has to go 20 miles out of its way to do a U-turn.
Right.
Yeah, it's
yacht.
Yeah, these are big corrections. Oftentimes don't happen very quickly. They happen in a roundabout way, but you'll be able to get there if you just show up. And that's and like you're saying, run into the fear.
Run into the fear and the pain. Wherever you see where you think it's going to be painful, you think it's going to be scary, that's where you need to hit.
So Rob had a one-liner. I like it. It says, "I have 2 steps on the ground. Now I got to get 2 feet more, 2 steps more.
Gotcha.
Just keep going.
Just keep going.
Right.
Yeah.
Just 2 steps more. Right. And I think Goggins talks about it. The audio book is a little bit different. Have you listened to the audio?
That's what I'm listening to the audiobook
because
right now,
that's got the podcast
yes.
at the end of every chapter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's actually, in my opinion, more emotional to listen to it than it is to read it. Not that reading it isn't gut-wrenching, but when you listen to it, you're going to tear up at times because you can tell how intense Goggins is about the emotions he was experiencing as a kid.
Yeah. And
while he doesn't really tear up, it's just you feel for him. You're just like, man, I'm so sorry that happened to you.
And when I tell people, if anyone were to hear my story, they always say, or at least when I was growing up, everyone, I don't know how you got through it. And I was like, because it was normal.
Yeah.
That was my norm. That's how I got through it. I'm sure it's like the frog in the pot, right? They say the way, like if you just throw a frog in a boiling hot pot of water, the frog will jump out. But if it's in there and you're heating it up slowly over time, it just eventually dies.
Yeah.
It never tries to jump out. That's the way I felt. Like it was just, this was my life. All I knew was toxicity. All I knew was death and abandonment. That was it. So then you wear that as your crutch for your life. And Goggins is basically like, no.
That ain't no crutch.
Your crutch is not an excuse.
Yeah.
That's just laziness, emotional laziness. Just because you don't know the proper tools about real estate and you're too afraid to go buy one doesn't excuse you, because we're offering you lenders, we're offering you help finding the deal, we're offering motivation and coaching along the way. You have no excuse.
Yeah.
Your only excuse is you're just too damn lazy.
And fear. People get so scared. I don't know what they think's going to happen.
Yeah.
But I have goofed up real estate deals and still made money.
Yeah.
Real estate is the most forgiving investment out there. There was a 500 unit where the management company stole like 18 months of income, year and a half of income. They still made money when they sold. I mean, it's the most forgiving, the lowest risk investment out there, in my opinion, because we make money in both the up and down markets. We don't care what the market does. We make money either way. It's just the right thing to do.
So having multiple exit strategies is the key to real estate. You either can be making money while you're holding the property, as you talk about deferred maintenance. You get the tax write-off for it. You get it. What do you call that? Not principal reduction. What's the tax thing? You have this little deal that you do.
Depreciation.
Depreciation. Depreciation.
Depreciation.
Appreciation. Equity capture. Equity pay down, and cash flow. Those are the 5 things that you talk about since 2000. Whenever. Yeah. Okay. Let's shift gears. Just leaving one of my partnerships. We went 6 years. Left the partnership. This is the best partnership partnership breakup I ever had. What do you think for people who have partnerships? What would you tell them if you were advising someone that are like, yeah, I'm going to go partner with somebody? What would you say the number one thing that they should do to CYA?
Okay. Cover your ass by having clearly defined roles, and no roles should overlap.
Agree.
I saw 3 people go into a deal together. All of them were of equal intelligence. All of them had similar skill sets. I had no idea why they're going into partnership. They didn't need each other. They were just buddies. We're going to do it because we're buddies.
Yeah.
Nothing got done.
Right.
Because no one was responsible. You want to delineate every role, every responsibility in writing before you go into the deal. You can always swap roles later, but it needs to be in writing. You're responsible for all of this. I'm responsible for all of that. That's 100% of everything that needs to be done, and stick to it. The people who don't do that, I thought you were supposed to do it. No, you were supposed to do it. And things don't get done, and you lose money.
Well, and when you're overlapping, you build resentment.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I'm doing it. And, you could have done it. It was your job, There's all these things that happen and the resentment. My thing is so my number one is you should know going into a partnership that the partnership is eventually going to dissolve.
Yes.
And if you know that going in, we're going to go in, we're going to make as much amount of money, and at some point in time, we're going to dissolve it. So the best thing to do is to have on paper a dissolution agreement. When we dissolve, the assets go 50% to you, 50% to me. If I want to keep it, then it's 100% whatever. You're allowed to go do whatever the F you want. Boom, done. Whatever those terms are, you do that. Why do you think relationships or partnerships fail?
In my past experience, it's always been greed.
Ooh,
on
so good.
The part of one of them.
Yes.
Where they feel like they need more. They made a 50-50 agreement, but now they feel it should be 70-30. Or, I could go deeply into that, but it's greed.
And mine's jealousy.
Really?
Yeah. I've lost more partnerships because I promote my build outs on Facebook. So having my partner was Ryan DeGennaro. Having someone who did not care about Facebook was the only thing that saved me. My other partner, he left because I was taking all the glory and credit on Facebook.
That's right. There's greed. There's glory and credit. That's funny.
Yeah.
It's all
jealousy.
Crap.
Yeah. It's jealousy. All ego. It's all ego. I mean, the big deal should be, are you guys cashing checks?
Yeah.
Right? And if you're cashing checks and you signed up to the deal, that's the deal. The other thing that I would say is, and I talk about this, Brant and I were going to do a deal a long time ago, some townhouses. And so for anyone watching, being in your partnership or being in alignment with your agreement is going to make any deal that you do successful. When you jump out of that, the deal's energy changes, and I think karma comes in and it becomes not successful.
Yeah. You shot yourself in the foot,
basically.
Right.
So we were going to do this townhouse deal. My deal was to bring in the design, the drafter, and pick out all the paint, color, tile, blah, blah, do the stuff that I do. Brent was going to do what he normally did. And Brent had another partner who was a money guy. And the money guy came in and says, so we show up to the drafter. We do the drafting. At the very end, the lady's leaving to go pick up our copies of what she's printing out. And the guy goes, so what is his role in the partnership? And Brand's like, oh, it was this and picking out tile and paint color. And he's like, so what do we need him for now? And
with you sitting right there.
With me sitting right there. I was going to be a 10% partner. Nothing big. Right? Nothing big. I get a text message or an email later on. And it is, hey, we're just going to pay you $2,500 per house. Right?
Right.
And I was just like, man, dude, you can forget it. I'm not going to do it. And later on, Brant talks about it in podcasts that he's done, like the worst deal of his life, the one that he hated the most.
Was with that individual.
It's that project.
Yeah.
And I think that project just, when you're not designed forward, when you're process forward, having someone there that is design oriented makes your process that much better.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Because if you come in to what I get from everybody that comes into this studio versus the podcast studio I did last time. Oh, wow, there's so much energy in here. Look at all of this, right? Yeah. I would have never thought to put lime green and black together. I would have never thought that. But you look at it, and the rhythm throughout the whole build out is so seamless and modern and new. It's different. No one's doing lime green and black.
And it's
and yellow.
People remember it.
Yeah.
People remember it. They'll go, oh, the guy's in the green shirt.
Yeah.
And that's the main purpose of it.
Yeah.
Memorability.
Being memorable.
Being memorable. That was what I was trying to say.
Being memorable. I love the podcasting studio. The screen changing, all of your Lego stuff, all the creativity that goes into it. It's just phenomenal. So when we're leaving people today with, I guess, our number one, like the thing that we want to leave people with, what would it be? Either about relationships, about starting real estate, about picking a hobby. What do you got for them?
The thing that's on my mind right now is just giving it a try. I met a guy who was 82, and long story short, he found out what I did. He literally sat down, and I was like, why'd you sit down? He looked at me and he goes, you know that I didn't even try? He said, and now that I'm 82, I realize it was because I was scared, but I can't even tell you what I was scared of. There was nothing to be afraid of, but I didn't even try. I think people need to understand that is a thing called regret, and you're going to live with it if you don't give it a shot. So I encourage everybody to give it a try. You need to build a second stream of income to be successful in the United States financially. Give it a try. Don't sit on the sidelines because you will live with regret. One member who turned $100,000 into $1.7 million, his comment when he put up the 100, he goes, I'd rather lose it trying than not. And it was such a simple point, but now with the wisdom of hindsight, that was a very profound point. He could have lost that money in the stock market, right. And he would have because it was 2007. He got it out. He tried, and now he's got $1.7 million worth of real estate, equity, and $60,000, $70,000 a year in income. I mean, he's killing it because he gave it a try.
So my onto your point of trying, my ex-wife's biggest issue with me was that I only had 10% in my first partnership with Robert Hammond and this guy named Jason Gage.
Yeah.
We went and bought 36 houses together. And I was only a 10% partner but I was also getting the realtor commission on every deal. And my ex-wife was telling her dad in front of me about how she doesn't like this because I'm only getting 10%. And how do you take pride in it? He said, I guarantee you in 5 years, Curtis will be a millionaire because of even if he makes no money, but all he's getting is the experience.
Yep.
And so, yeah, and he was right. All the experience I was gaining, it catapulted.
Invaluable.
Yeah. And so I would leave you guys with comfort is the enemy of growth.
Yep.
When I'm comfortable, that means I know I'm nowhere near where I'm trying to go. Well, I thank you so much for coming back on the podcast for the check-in. We're like 6 months in. I'm still working, still making progress. And, man.
Love what you're doing, man.
Thank you, brother.
It.
You're killing it. All right. Thank you, everyone.